I've tried various ways of getting these cap screws out of the bridge, the screws that hold down the bridge saddle, and in the end I'm going to sacrifice the screws because I have some on the way, and I'm going to drill them out. Okay, so we're going to have to just drill the heads off all of them, all the ones that are left. Okay. So my saddles will now come off. There we go. Now I'm taking off the back plate to reveal the tremolo block and springs. So I want to dismantle the whole thing so I can hold the block in a vise and remove the last screw, which is being very difficult. So that's all of the wood screws removed. I can tell now that this guitar's at some point in its life been damp or put away wet or something. Anyway, there's the effects of corrosion on everything really, light rust on lots of things. So let's take the plate out, there we go. I guess we'll release the claw. Or at least slacken off the claw to make the springs easier to remove. The claw is the metal fixture that's screwed into the wood, exactly like a Fender Stratocaster with a tremolo. And spring tension is adjusted using this claw. It's very, very primitive, using wood screws as adjusters, but there you go. Okay, so the springs are a bit looser now. Don't want to damage anything, but it's easier to lift the straight end of the springs out first and take the ring end off last. So there are 2, 3, 4, 5. And there is the tremolo unit. And the problem is this hole here. I drilled the head off the cap screw and there wasn't enough left to get hold of with a pair of pliers. There was on the others, so I still need to wind the remaining stud out somehow. So next I'm going to take the top plate off the cast tremolo block. I'm not sure what it is. It could be steel. Not sure if it's quite heavy enough for that. Could be brass, could be zinc. So these screws are coming out easily enough. Okay. Seems an unnecessarily complicated system, this, with lots of component parts. It's a Wilkinson unit. I'm not sure if that Wilkinson is British or American, really not sure. Okay. So here we have now finally the part I need to work on. Let's get it into focus. These pillars, this last one has a stud left in it. I might have to resort to an engineer friend of mine to remove the stud, but I am going to try to do it myself first. So I found that I am actually able to move this stud just by using a jeweler's screwdriver, pressing it onto the edge. I can start to flick it round and it's moving. So hooray, problem solved. Wonderful. So I'm just putting all this back together, and the top plate on the tremolo unit, which is held on with 3 machine screws. All this will be imperial thread. Wilkinson is American. I've just found it's stamped made in USA. So imperial threads. Apparently later, very later, Patrick Eggle's moved over to metric, and so did Wilkinson. So what I'm doing now is quite a long, tedious job, but I'm basically freeing off all these tiny grub screws which adjust the height and the intonation. I'm doing it without stripping the inside hexagons. It's quite a delicate job, but kind of fun too. So having more or less sorted out the bridge saddles, I'm just waiting for the cap screws to hold them down. I'm going to I am putting the bridge back together now, so we'll put the springs back on. So the springs are back on and the floating bridge is now on its 2-point fulcrum again, and I'm just going to assemble these saddles back onto the bridge. So I can't simply reverse the Patrick Eggle because it's not just a question of the size of the slots. It's not shaped at a right angle, so when I reverse it and place it on the guitar, it leans in and it's all wrong. So that just goes in my box of parts, and I will make a brand new bone nut. I have some bone blanks. In the meantime, what I've put on there is a plastic plastic nut from some other guitar. I removed it from some other guitar, and it's approximately the right dimensions. I've not glued it on yet, I'm just setting it there and I'm stringing up to see how the string height above the frets are and things like that. So I have a heap of old strings, and I'm basically finding out which ones I can put on by measuring them. 1/1000th of an inch. Well, that one's a 9, okay. And this one here, the 9 is a bit too thin for anything I want. And this one here is 15. Okay, that's a good size for a B string, I think. 15. So that will, if it's long enough, that will go on as a B string. So it's strung up. The saddles do not have their holding down cap screws on yet, so it's a little insecure, and I've used a temporary nut because I'm just impatient to hear what this thing sounds like. But it's looking okay. Okay, I'm going to tune this up to pitch and then do the intonation of these saddles, which I can do even without the cap screws there, and then I'll play a couple of chords on it plugged into an amplifier. Neck pickup and clean.